All right, here's our video on Stoicism. And this is a philosophy that was founded in Athens in ancient Greece around the year 300 BC by a man named Zeno. So let's write Zeno. His name was Zeno. And he lived around 300 BC, 300 years before Christ, before the Common Era. And it's almost similar, well, almost, there's some similarities between a modern therapy called CBT. And CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy that was created around the 50s and 60s. And CBT is trying to focus you on the positive, trying to change your negative thoughts and so forth. And that's, in a sense, some parts of Stoicism. So let's look at the history of Stoicism first. And they get their name, by the way, by the Stoa, which you're looking at here. Little picture of it's like a public square. Well, not a square, a public patio. You could put it that way. The Stoa. So that's where they get their name, the Stoa. It's like a patio, a porch. Put it that way in ancient Greece, and they would come and meet and discuss their philosophy. So if we look at a timeline here, just to give you an introduction, just to give you a set of framework here with Zeno. We're looking Zeno about, and here's the virtues, which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's go back. So we have some of the most famous philosophers of the time in ancient Greece: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Now, they came before Zeno, so they would have known what Stoicism was. They didn't hear the word Stoicism, although they would have known what a Stoa was. Not to say that they wouldn't have practiced some of the benefits of Stoicism or the beliefs of Stoicism. But if you're looking at Socrates, he lived about 300, well, he died in 399. So he died in 399 BC, and he taught Plato, who died around 347 BC. So Socrates is much older. And Aristotle was taught by Plato, and he died around 322 BC. Aristotle tutored Alexander the Great, probably one of the greatest generals in history. That's, of course, arguable. And he died a year later, 323 BC. Well, actually, he died before. You got to be careful when you're dealing with BC. It's like negative numbers. And Zeno was saying 300 BC. So Alexander was much younger than Aristotle, but he died during his campaign. And if you want more of a to understanding, we can throw Julius Caesar in here, or as they say, Julius Caesar. That would have been how the Romans pronounce it. And he died in 44 BC. We know the Ides of March. So Julius Caesar, Julius Caesar, however you want to pronounce it, Cleopatra, they lived much, much later than these philosophers we're talking about. So, and by the way, if we throw one more person, let's throw in maybe Moses. I think people are familiar with Moses. We're not sure exactly his date, but some people put it at 1200 BC. Much, much longer, older. Anyway, let's get to what is Stoicism. So one of the keys in Stoicism is to lead a virtuous life. That's one of the major keys, and they have four virtues. These four virtues are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. So to achieve the highest good in Stoicism is to practice and obtain these four virtues. And we can add other things to this. Within all this, we're talking about self-control. Self-control. We'll get that a little thicker there. There we go. Self-control. It's mastering your emotions. Mastering your emotions. It is not It is not eliminating your emotions. It's not being emotionless. It's not being void of feelings. That's not what it is. Some people think of it that way. It's not like Mr. Spock. If you know Mr. Spock, the Vulcans, they suppress emotions, whereas the Stoics accept them, train them. So you master your emotions. You don't get rid of your emotions. We can add another word, focus. Focus. There's a Greek word of what they're trying to achieve. It's eudaimonia. Let me spell it. Eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. And that's just trying to achieve the highest human good, eudaimonia, by these four virtues, right? You have wisdom, or as they would say, Sophia, right? And that again is making sound judgments, making sound judgments, good judgments, good decisions, making sound judgments. Then there's justice, doing what is right, doing your duty, doing your duty, your responsibilities, doing what is fair, fair and good, just doing the right thing. That's justice. I'm sure we know what courage is. There's a difference between being foolish and courage, though. You face your fears and your difficulties, but with reason. Let's face your fears. Don't be foolish, though. You're not going to jump in a lion's den. So face your fears. Fix that S. Face your fears and difficulties. Embrace them. And temperance is self-control, is discipline, self-control. So the Stoic tries to achieve these, and it takes practice to do this. So summing it up, again, it's self-control, controlling your emotions, not suppressing them, not getting rid of them. Laugh when you need to laugh at a good movie. It's good to laugh. You're going to get angry. It's natural to get angry, but you need to focus that anger. You want to focus on what, and here's the big thing what they say. You want to focus on what you can control, not what you cannot control. And that's in a lot of religions too. Focus on what you can control. So here it is. Focus on what you can control, not what you cannot control. But the key here also is having the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes you don't even know the difference. You think you can control something when you can't. It takes wisdom, takes patience, takes time. So a Stoic will say, stop wasting time complaining. Stop wasting time on negative thoughts. Control what you can control. Focus on what you can control. Positive thoughts. Let's look at an example. So let's say you have an assignment at work or at college, like this picture shows. This person is overwhelmed, they're stressed, they have anxiety, all negative thoughts. And which is normal, by the way. It's normal to have this. With Stoicism, people practice their virtues and their training. It takes time, it takes dedication. But let's say you have this assignment and it seems overwhelming at work, at college. So your typical response to this would be you're angry, you're stressed, you're anxious. Again, normal. But you could take that negative thoughts and turn it into a positive thought. So what the Stoics would do is they would focus, they would stop wasting their time complaining and do it. Not to say that's easy. Again, it takes patience. So a Stoic would focus on the task, not the emotions of it, not the anger of it, not the anxiety of it. Because the assignment, whatever it is due, whenever it's due, is outside your control. Focus on the task at hand. So, what this person's doing, and what a lot of us do, again, it's like normal behavior to worry, is catastrophizing. Let's write that word there, catastrophizing. And you don't want to catastrophize. When you're catastrophizing, you're focusing on irrational thoughts, distortion. You're focusing on the negative. You don't want to catastrophize. Your emotions have mastered you instead of you mastering your emotions. So when you have this, when you are catastrophizing, you make illogical choices. You make irrational choices. You make irrational and bad decisions. You overreact. Now, some people might say, count to 10. Think about this. You may have heard that before. Now, you could be catastrophizing because you practiced a vice. You procrastinated. You waited the last minute. That's your fault. The assignment is not in your control. But when you choose to do the assignment is in your control. And so as a Stoic, the virtue would be to avoid procrastinating and do the task at hand, to manage your time. So that's the basics of Stoicism. Again, you have to practice Stoicism for it to be beneficial. Now, this isn't a self-help video, so it's not telling you to practice Stoicism. It was just telling you what Stoics are, what they do. And there's Stoics around today. And if you're a Stoic, well, comment.